Tonight, you're going to scroll past someone's photo. Maybe a birthday party, a beach, a carefully arranged plate of food. You'll scroll, you'll move on, and you won't think about it. But some people, millions of them, never post anything. No photos, no updates, no trace. You probably know someone like this. Maybe you've wondered what's wrong with them. Or maybe you are them and you've wondered what's wrong with you. Nothing is wrong. And the real answer to why some people go silent online is far stranger and far more interesting than anyone talks about. We need to go back a little, not years, not decades. Think about 99% of human history. For essentially all of it, the only people who knew what your face looked like were the people standing right in front of you. Your reputation existed in maybe one village, one neighborhood, one circle. You controlled the narrative of your own life by simply living it privately. That was the default. That was normal. The idea that millions of strangers should have access to curated images of your lunch, your face, your relationships, that's brand new. That's maybe 15 years old, and your brain hasn't caught up. But here's what's fascinating. The people who refuse to post aren't malfunctioning. They may actually be running an older, more calibrated operating system. In 2013, researchers at Carnegie Mellon University started looking at what they called privacy calculus. The basic idea: every time you share something online, your brain is running a risk-reward calculation, mostly unconsciously. What do I gain from this? Validation? Connection? A sense of belonging? What might I lose? Control? Autonomy? The version of myself I get to be tomorrow. For most people, the reward wins. The dopamine hit of a like, the warmth of a comment, the small social signal that you exist and matter. It's immediate. The costs are abstract and distant. But here's the part nobody really talks about. For a significant subset of people, the calculation runs differently. Not because they're broken, because they're more sensitive to a specific type of threat. What psychologists call identity foreclosure. The feeling that sharing a moment locks it in, converts it from something fluid and personal into something fixed and public. You post a photo from a party, and suddenly that night belongs to everyone who sees it. It's no longer just yours. And it gets stranger. In 2019, a team at the University of Amsterdam published research on what they called self-concept clarity. How clearly and consistently a person knows who they are. People with high self-concept clarity tend to share less on social media. Not because they're insecure, because they don't need external confirmation of who they are. The posting, the likes, the comments, for them, that whole system doesn't offer much. They already know what they think. Why would they need 10,000 strangers to agree? Let that sink in. The assumption we carry that not sharing means shyness or fear or some kind of social failure. It's exactly backwards for a lot of people. High self-knowledge correlates with lower sharing. The people who post the most may be the ones still figuring out who they are. Now here's where it gets complicated. Not all non-posters are the same. There's a difference between someone who doesn't post because they're genuinely private and someone who doesn't post because they're afraid. Fear-based silence looks like relief when no one notices you. It looks like checking obsessively to see if anyone tagged you. It looks like wanting to share but something stops you every time, and that something feels a lot like shame. Genuine privacy looks different. It looks like not thinking about it much. It looks like being fully present at the birthday party because you're not also managing the content. It looks like owning the memory instead of publishing it. The psychologist Sherry Turkle spent years interviewing people about technology and connection, and she found something counterintuitive. The most connected people, the ones with hundreds of followers, thousands of likes, often reported feeling profoundly lonely. They were performing connection. They were broadcasting. But the private people, the non-posters, they often had fewer but deeper relationships because they had never outsourced their inner life to an algorithm. So that settles it, right? Non-posters are secretly healthier. Well, not quite. Because the world is rarely that clean. There's a real cost to being invisible online in 2026. People assume you don't exist or that you're hiding something. Hiring managers search your name and find nothing, and sometimes fill that silence with suspicion. New relationships form in spaces where you have no presence. Being entirely offline is its own kind of statement, and not always the one you intend. And honestly, some people don't post because they're genuinely afraid of being seen. Not in a dramatic way, in the ordinary, exhausting way of someone who learned early that visibility leads to judgment, who watched someone they loved get mocked for something innocent, who felt, once or twice, the particular sting of posting something real and having it ignored or twisted. That fear is real. That's not a design preference. That's a wound. The healthiest non-posters tend to know the difference. They chose this. They could post if they wanted to. They simply don't want to. So here's what's actually happening when you scroll past someone's life, packaged and filtered and ready for your reaction. Two different survival strategies are running in parallel. One says, I exist most fully when I am witnessed. Share. Be seen. Accumulate evidence that you were here. And there's nothing wrong with that. Humans are social. Belonging matters. The desire to be known is ancient and real. But the other one says, I exist most fully when I am not observed, when the moment is just the moment, when the memory doesn't have to perform anything, when who I am isn't subject to approval. Both of these are human. Both of these are old. What's new is the pressure to choose one and never question it. The assumption that sharing is normal and silence is suspicious. The people who go quiet aren't missing something. They're protecting something. A version of themselves that exists before the edit, before the crop and the caption and the careful lighting, the raw draft, the moment that doesn't need to mean anything to anyone else. That's the program they're running, the oldest one we have, the one that remembers, somewhere deep, somewhere pre-language, that not everything real needs an audience.